let's go through the overview. And as I said, I'm leaving this out of slideshow mode just so that we get a proper recording, because you all want to be able to go back and look at this again. All right. So if you go into ServiceNow using Internet Explorer, it will automatically log you in. It uses your Windows ID and your password, single sign-on, so you shouldn't have to do anything. If you're using another browser, you'll need to authenticate in. So if you see this, just log in. It's the same as what got you into your computer. At the bottom is the link to the system that we are using today for training and for testing and for practice. That is not your production environment. It is a test system, so feel free to practice in there. So does anybody need to capture this down? Or Lola, did you forward it to everyone? Or okay, you all already have the PowerPoint. It's on this slide, which is slide 3. All right. Once you log in, everyone will see the same basic page. Let me come in over here. We're going to have a banner along the top, the edge over here. This is your application navigator. This is how you go from incident or problem or knowledge, any of that. Then over here is the content frame. Now the content frame is what changes according to what you're looking at. If you're looking at a list, that's where it shows up. If you're looking at a home page, it's over there. So that's the big thing that changes. Now keep in mind that this is showing ITIL homepage in the content frame. It could be a different homepage. You might have a self-service homepage. And whenever I do the demo, I'll show you what employees who come in who don't have a role see whenever they log in. So let's take a closer look at the banner. This is the thing that was along the very top. You'll have your logo at the top left, a welcome message with the name of the logged in user, and then along the right are some specialized icons and functionality. Beside the logout button is a little house, which is home pages. You hover over it, you'll see a list of the available home pages. There's also a printer icon, and what that will do is whatever is in the content frame, it'll give you a printer-friendly format of that. There are also some little tiny bars that you can barely see, but once they're on your screen, they show up. That allows you to resize. You can resize your application navigator on the left. You can resize the banner along the top. There's also some along the right and along the bottom that allow you to do some split screen things, but there are shortcuts for doing that as well. So the edge is that toolbar that's along the left. What that allows you to do is drag and drop. It's a way to bookmark things inside ServiceNow. This is a perfect opportunity to bookmark things that you use every day. Let's say, create new incident. Bookmark it. That way you don't have to look for it in the application navigator. So here's what I was talking about, the things that you can do inside here. Now we talked about clicking and dragging. These are just shortcuts for hiding or showing the banner and the application navigator. Those are just shortcut ways. That does a split screen. If you like working in the pane view like we have in Outlook where it's right and left, you can do that, or the top and bottom, either way. Now any changes you make here only affect you. They don't affect anyone else. So play around with it, get it to the way you like to see it. And the system will remember what you did, and next time you log in, it'll be that way. All right, under that, you'll see a create and manage bookmarks, which is a star. That just gives you a drop down of all the bookmarks you have on the edge. And then under there are additional bookmarks, because you have an option, and we'll show it in just a second, of showing the bookmark in this in the whole pane here, or just having it in that list beside the star. Creating a bookmark is simple. It's a click and drag. The cool thing is, you can take anything from the application navigator and drag it over. You can also take reports or filters that you've applied, and I'll show you how to do all of that as well. And once you save a bookmark, you can edit it. By default, it'll go over there and it'll have the same little icon as what you had, like if it was the create new incident, it'll have that icon, but you can change that. This is all for you personally. All you do is hover over it, select edit bookmark. You can rename it, choose for it to be a flyout, whether or not you want to see it on that edge, on the lower part. If you choose not to show it, it'll still show in that list by the star. You can choose to, of course, delete it if you have too many bookmarks or don't want it anymore. You can choose to open it in a form pane, and you can change the image. Now, whenever you play with the image, there are a ton to choose from. Just go with whatever you like. My favorite is a little paper airplane. Now, something that was at the very top right of the screen was a search pane. And what that is, it does a global search throughout ServiceNow. You could type anything in there, whether it's an incident number, which would come in very handy for the service desk. If someone has an incident number, type it in there. That's a quick way of getting to what you want to see. Now, in this case, I typed the word Windows, and it searched everything, and it found incidents and problems and knowledge. It will look everywhere in your system for something with that keyword. Now, there's also a search tips and preferences, and that will give you information, and it'll allow you to choose how you want to search. I always leave that alone. I want to search everywhere, and I don't want to forget something, so I leave that alone. All right, so that's enough time of seeing screens. Let's actually take a look at your system. So what I'm going to do first is go in here as Joe Employee. Joe Employee is just somebody who does not have a role. They have a user record in our system, but no role. So this would be what you would call an end user, I believe. So notice their application navigator, there's not very much over here. And that's because there's not a lot they can do in here. And they also are shown the self-service homepage. But it gives them a lot of information. It allows them to search knowledge. There's search knowledge here. Here's how they can open an incident themselves. Over here, if they need to make a request, which we'll talk about in a little while. And here's some news from knowledge and some quick links and FAQs. That all comes from the knowledge base. So it's quick ways of them doing the self-service type stuff that we want them to do. And then if they have requested anything, it's their requested items and their open incidents. So there's a lot of information on that page for them so that it's kind of a one-stop shop. Now notice I still have the edge along the left over here. And as you see, this is just showing me bookmark help. Now if I wanted to grab something and put it on the edge, it's just a click and drag. To edit that, I would hover over it, select Edit Bookmark, give it a new name, choose whether it's a flyout or whether or not to show on the edge. If I wanted to change the image, this is what I was saying, there are a lot of them here. I'm just going to pick one and click Update, and it does it immediately. If I hover over it again, it has my new name, it has my new image already. If I want to delete that, I just go to Edit Bookmark again and delete. And it's gone. It's just as simple as that. And this is all inside ServiceNow, and it will remember that you had that you made that selection. Now let me go back in as an ITIL user. ITIL users are what most IT resolvers are. Most of you will have the ITIL role. Notice that I have a whole lot more on my application navigator. And that's just because there's more that I can do with ServiceNow. Now there are a couple of things on here because I am in your dev environment that are showing up that won't be on your regular one. I think like a couple of the things at the bottom. So don't be worried if you don't have everything listed here. Okay? So you see at the top that it shows who I am. Now incidentally, I'm doing an impersonation, and that's because I have an administrator role. Most users will not see this little key to impersonate other users. Up here is the banner. You'll see here's my global search here. and it's searching, and here's where it comes up with the information that I need. And you'll see it even has knowledge and catalog items on here as well. And then if I hover over the house, I'll see the available home pages. Now, we'll talk about home pages in just a minute, but I wanted to show you this. You see that it says My Eye to Home Page a couple of times. That's because I made changes and saved it. Because you are able to adjust your own home pages to make them show you the things that you want to see. So I just selected one, and it's loading. And everything's slower today. It's normally not this slow, but I'm on my Wi-Fi, and AT&T does not like me right now. So it's still thinking about it. Okay. Are there any questions on this part of it?
Yeah, I have a question. Now, when you said they can create their own incident, are you speaking about the end user being able to go in and just create their own ticket? Now, how does that make the service test? How are we aware of the new tickets that are being opened in the system?
It comes into the service desk. Lola, how is it being assigned?
You should see it right here. There's a queue. Go ahead and show another incident. It says CSC inbound. So those,
under incident?
Yeah, so there's another queue that says CSC inbound. So all your email and self-service
clicked on the wrong thing.
requests will come inbound to this queue. So
that's something that we would have to monitor.
that's correct. That should be communicated to you from Don Bates and also within this training. So we need to check that.
No problem. All right. So let's go back into the slides and let's talk a little bit more about the Application Navigator. Now it's divided up. You have the things, it's hard to see in gray, that are the applications themselves, like incident or problem or knowledge. And then under that, you have modules. Now, self-service and service desk, those kind of have a mix of several different things because we want to give more information up there, not just incident or just problem like that. So those have kind of a mix. As you can see, like under service desk, I have my work and my group's work, and that can pull from everything because it's looking at all the tasks that are out there for my group or for me. Now, some of these modules link to a form, like under incident is create new. That'll open an incident form. And some open a list. Like if I clicked incident open, that will show me a list of all the open incidents. What these are is these are just pre-made filters for you. So that if you know what you're looking for in the Application Navigator, you don't necessarily have to scroll down and look through it. You can actually type. There's a little field that says type filter text at the very top of it. It doesn't look like you can click in it, but you can. Click in it and start typing whatever you want. For example, incident. If I start typing incident, it will filter the Application Navigator to show me only things that involve incident. It will show me everything that has the word incident in it, and then it will show me the entire incident application with all of its modules under it. So there are some buttons beside type filter text. You have a small a and a big A. That's to increase and decrease the font size. And that's just a quick way of making things more readable. You have a refresh to refresh your navigator, which honestly, unless you're an admin, you will hardly ever use. You have a little minus sign. What that will do is it will expand or collapse everything in your Application Navigator quickly. If you don't want to use the type filter text, click that to collapse everything, and it's easier to find what you're looking for. And finally, there's a perspective. It's that little upside down triangle. What it does is it lets people choose what type of things they want to see in their Application Navigator. Now, I've recommended this as an FAQ. New users quite often will say, I'm not seeing all that stuff in the Navigator that the guy right beside me is seeing. And it's because they have switched their perspective. All you need to do is click that and select all again. Suddenly they can see everything again. All right, so let's take a quick look at the Navigator. It's over here on the left. This is how to adjust the size of it easily. Here's to I just clicked it twice. Increase and decrease the font size. Notice it increases the font size for everything. And just like before, it is completely up to you. It affects no one else. You see that I have several things open. I can just click this and it collapses everything. Or alternately, I can expand everything. It's your choice. And if there's something specific that I'm looking for, I just start typing it in the type filter text. And it filters my application navigator to just show me those things. Once you're finished with this, I would recommend just clicking the X so that it clears everything out. All right, are there any questions on this? Okay. So let's talk about forms. Inside ServiceNow, all the forms are set up basically the same way. Now what's on there might be a little different from incident to problem to knowledge, but it's still the same basic stuff. You have your title bar along the top, the back button at the top left, it's green. Kind of hard to tell on the screen, sorry. Under that are some fields. Then you're going to have some sections. Now, I have put this in tab order on here, and I'll show you how to go back and forth. It's according to how you like to see a form. I personally prefer tab order. You have some expand and collapse field visibility. Some of your fields are free text and they're like 4,000 characters. You can collapse that down so that it's not taking up so much real estate on your screen. You have related lists. What these are is these are things that you can use to interact with your form, and this comes into play in problem. And then down here are related lists. That takes you to other things, like in this case, affected CIs. Because we have one CI up at the top, but then we have other CIs that are affected by the same thing. It could be an outage that's affecting 4 different applications. And so you would want to note them on here. So this is just a closer look at the things that we have in the title bar. Hey, we can actually see the green on the back button this time. So we have the back button. We have which table we're in over here on the left. Now these buttons will change according to which form you're in and where you are in the process. For example, whenever we've created an incident, it won't say update, it'll say submit. Things like that. Now, to the right of this one is one that you'll use quite a bit. It's a paper clip. That means attach. That's how we can attach things to this incident. If it's an email, if it's an actual document, it doesn't matter. You can attach it to it, and that's a good repository to keep it together. This one, you can actually send emails from inside this incident. If you need to email someone's manager or something like that, I recommend sending it from inside the incident instead of your own Outlook. And that way, it's attached to here. And if you go on vacation, whoever picks it up will still have all of that information without having to have access to your email. If you had come in from a list, you'll see these, the up and down, which is the previous and next. This is the tab or non-tab format. And it's personal preference on that. I'll show you what the two look like without the tabs and with the tabs. And then these are for collapsing all the sections. I'll show you what that looks like as well. And honestly, I don't like it whenever the sections are collapsed, but it's important to know that these exist because people will accidentally do it and then say, it's not showing up on my screen.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to cancel it, you were entering it, then you wanted to cancel. Is hitting back the same thing as hitting cancel?
It is. It is. Now the system will automatically use that number, but it makes no difference. There's tons of numbers, and it won't cause any problems with reporting or anything. You will get a pop-up saying, are you sure you want to leave this page? So it's as simple as that. Okay. Sorry about the colors, but it's the best I've got. Once you're in your actual screen, you'll be able to see it. The fields have little color indicators to the left of them. Some are red. Red means mandatory. You have to put something in that field. The little orange means that it's read-only. Simple as that, like the number. The number is read-only because the system automatically assigns it. you have green. What green means is that I changed the field, but I haven't yet saved my record. Then you have a light red. A light red means that it's a mandatory field that is populated and saved. Now, if you're colorblind or if anyone can't see what those colors are, all they have to do is hover over that little color and it will tell them what it is. So this is important because we deal with people that are VIPs. So we have some indicators on the forms to show you that they are a VIP without you having to go somewhere else to figure that out. If it is a VIP, which comes from their user record, then you'll see the VIP icon and the name will appear in red. If they are on lit hold, you'll see a little lit icon and their name appears in red. And then if they're both, it'll actually say lit VIP and still show their name in red. All other users, their name just appears in black, so it'll just show up in red if it's one of these. So most of the fields on a form will accept, yes?
I'm sorry, what's lit hold?
Yeah, it's a new one for me too.
Yeah, litigation hold is just something on our end where basically your email cannot be destroyed.
Oh,
If you delete something out of Outlook, it's still on the server.
Yeah, so that's like if you work on a project that we're like being sued over, or suing a consultant over, all your stuff. Doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Like you're in trouble. Not.
It could mean
It
you're-
could mean, yeah. But like there are people who are on litigation hold who are never done anything wrong, but they were part of a project that maybe still be looked at. So.
Mm-hmm. And you all currently deal with people that are VIPs or that have the litigation hold. So it's still the same processes. This is just our way of flagging it inside ServiceNow to show you, hey, that is one of those people. That's it. All right. So most fields will accept all values, numbers, text, whatever. They're free text. But then you have some that are reference fields. What that means is that I don't have to know what that assignment group name is. I just have to know part of it. And there are two ways to work with this. You can actually start typing a name and it will autofill. Or you can click a little search glass, it'll bring up a pop-up, and you can select from a list. Now, it's important to note that in this list, if you click the little plus sign beside a group's name, it will show you who's a member of that group. So in the cases where you know the people, but not necessarily that it's the right group, do that. Click the plus sign. Okay, yeah, that's the right one. Select that group. So it's a quicker way of getting that to happen. Now, one thing to note, if you know the beginning of an assignment group's name, then start typing it. If you know, let's say, something that's in the middle of it, like it contains the word service, all you have to do is put an asterisk in there before typing the word, and it does a contain search. It'll still find it. It'll give you a short list. Now, once you actually have completed a reference field, so there's something in there, you'll get another icon that pops up. That's just an information icon, and you'll see these a lot throughout ServiceNow. Hover over it, it'll give you a pop-up of information. And if you click on it, it'll actually take you into that form. So like clicking on the assignment group's information icon will take you into the assignment group form. Now it's read-only, but you can go into it and look. Now also an important thing to note, if you need to, let's say, capture someone's email address or something like that, if you hold down Shift while that pop-up is on there, it will sticky it so that you can go in there, grab whatever you want, and copy it. All you have to do is click the X to close it after you're done. We also have some fields that have locks on them. What that means is that I don't want to put just one name in here. I want to be able to put several. For example, the watch list. Obviously, sometimes people want to be on a watch list for an incident. All you do to do that is click the lock to open it. And we've already seen what this looks like. It's a reference field. So you just start typing or you can search. In this case, we're looking at users, so you can put someone's name. Now, if someone is not in our system, you want to add them to the watch list, but they're a vendor, they're external, you can actually enter an email address directly here, and it will pop up here. And we'll see that in play in just a minute. Now, anytime you're in a form, if you right-click in the title bar, you will get some additional choices. Now, I'm showing everything that could be available. Not necessarily all of this is available in your instance. And it's also according to what form you are on and where it is in the process. Like, I don't believe you all are using change, so that won't be there. However, you've got save and create problem and create request. There's a lot of options. So when in doubt, just right-click, see if it's there. So let's take a quick look at this. I'm just going to open one that's already open. Maybe. It's thinking about it. There we go. Now, here's where I was talking about. It's very hard to see on the screen, but that requester is on, it has the lit. I'm going to make this bigger. There we go. Oh, that's even worse. But it does say lit, and you see that their name is in red. That's just an indicator to get you to pay attention that it's not necessarily just a regular user. It's someone to pay attention to what your processes are. Now, if I wanted to fill in any of this information, let me just clear this out. I could start typing the person's name. Come on, think about it. And it gives me a list of people that are there. I could have also selected instead, let me just kill that, to click the search glass. And it will give me a list that I can select from. I can search inside here. I can apply filters, which we'll talk in a little more detail about filters, how to apply them here. So either way is fine. And so just going to give this one a name. Notice that once it's populated, I get that information icon. If I hover over it, it will give me a pop-up for whatever that is. In this case, I'm looking at a user, so it's giving me a view of the user record. That's where, if I needed to grab that email address, hold down Shift and move over into it, and it's sticky. I can go in here and grab what I need. And whenever I'm finished, just click the X. So that's a quick way of going into another table without leaving your current form. Right. So down here, notice that this is in tab view. I see notes, related records, closure information. That's tab view. But let me show you what it looks like whenever there are no tabs. Now, all of this information, I have to scroll down to see it. It's completely up to you how you prefer to see it. This is just too confusing for my personal taste. Put it however you like to see it. Now notice that these buttons at the top, like I said, they change according to where you are in the process and which form you're on. And then we'll talk in detail in just a moment about how to add an attachment. Here's where to do the email. You just click it, and it gives you a pop-up. Now it will capture some information automatically, like the people who are set up in here as the user or as the requester. You can change the subject. In this case, what it will do is give it like the incident number and what the short description is, or I'm sorry, the summary, which apparently the summary on this one is test. So this is just test data. We would never just put that in production. And then you can type anything. This is just like a regular email. And these are how you go to the next and the previous record. And this is about the expand and collapse functionality, which we talked about that a second ago, but let me show you. See how big work notes is? If I click the little minus sign, it'll make it smaller. It's honestly, it's more for just how much real estate you need on your screen. Now here's an example of the watch list. And if I click on the little lock, it expands. And I can start typing someone in. And then if I wanted to add an email address, I just type it. It automatically will go in there. Now, if you ever add someone to a watch list and say, oh, that's not the one I meant to add, just click on their name. You'll see an X that shows up. Just click the X. Now there's also a shortcut to here to add yourself. That's a little person icon. Just click it, it'll add you immediately, whoever the logged in user is. All right, are there any questions on this? Okay.
So there's 15 minutes left.
Oh, we'll go quickly. Okay. So we're going to talk about lists, which we've already looked at them, but how to interact with them. Now there's a couple of different things. All lists are set up the same way. You're going to have which table you're looking at here. There's a drop down that we'll look at in a second. There will be a new button if you have the ability to create new records directly from the list. This is some go-to functionality to search. You have the column headers. Now between that, it's kind of hard to see on the screen. Those are called breadcrumbs. That shows you what filters are applied to this list. And there's a cool way to play with those breadcrumbs. And you have all your data down here. So let's talk about the little drop down beside the name of the table. It will allow you to select from filters that are already pre-built or that you built. You can choose a group by. If you want to group your list by something specific, it's just one way to do it. You can say how many rows you want to show on your list, which you can go, I think, up to 100. It's by default set at 20. It's up to you as to how many you really want to see. 20 is typically enough. And then you can refresh your list. Now the go-to functionality. The little drop down beside go-to will show you a choice list of all the columns that you have in your list. So if you have requester in there, just select requester from there and start typing their name or use the little asterisk to search for their name. Now you can also choose for text. Now what that will do is that will search throughout that list, not necessarily a requester, but anywhere in there. Like if I searched for service, it found service in the summary, but then it also found it in the assignment group. To add things to your column choices, there's a little gear icon at the top left. Click it, you'll get a slush bucket. Select what you want, add it over to selected. Then you can use the up and down arrows to move where it is in your list. I recommend assignment group in there if it's not already in your list, because people who are members of multiple assignment groups need to see which assignment group it's for. Now, if you ever do too much and say, I just want to go back to what my administrators had set up, you'll see a little pop-up that'll come up about right here that'll say reset to column defaults. And that's a simple thing. You just click it, click OK, and it'll go back to how the administrators had it set up in the first place. Now, right-clicking. If you right-click in the column header, you'll get some choices. It'll ask you if you want to sort by that field, to group by that field, or to create a bar chart or a pie chart. You can also export the entire list. Now, keep in mind, if there are 5,000 records in that list, it's a whole lot of stuff to export. So I recommend applying filters before exporting. Anytime that you're looking at a list, you'll see some things are underlined. The underlined item will take you to that form. So if you click on the incident number, that takes you to the incident. But if you had clicked on the requester, it would take you to their user record instead. So be sure to click on the thing that you really want to see. You want to see the incident, click on the incident. Now, an alternative is that information icon. You'll see it along the left of every incident or any of the things in your list. If you click the information icon, it takes you into the proper form. Right-clicking inside a field. You're looking at a list, you see some fields. That allows you some different functionality. You can choose to show matching. So if I chose show matching, I would see only the critical incidents. If I chose to filter out, I would see everything except the critical incidents, in this case, because I right-clicked on critical. I can also copy the URL to the clipboard. So the URL for that incident, I could just copy it to my clipboard, so I can email it if I needed to. And then also, that's a quick way to assign it to yourself. If it's unassigned, you can get it assigned to you very quickly. Now the breadcrumbs. And I know this is a lot of information, I'm sorry folks. Breadcrumbs are just a quick way of getting through the filters. There's a couple of different ways to filter a list inside ServiceNow. Breadcrumbs just show you all the filters that are applied on here, and then you can play with them. So, in this case, I'm looking at all incidents that are active, where the requester is Joe Employee, and they are either critical or high priority. And so, if I want to remove, let's say I want to remove just one condition. I would click this little caret sign, and it will remove just that one condition. Now, whenever you hover over that sign, it will actually gray out what it's going to get rid of, and just click it, and it will actually get rid of just that condition. Now, if I wanted to back up quite a bit, let's say I wanted to go to all, I would just click on the word all, and it removes everything to the right of it. Another way to filter is doing it manually. There's a little triangle, click it, it'll do a toggle, it's just a drop down, and that shows you those same things that we just saw in our breadcrumbs in an expanded view. And you see the X beside them. If you want to get rid of it, just hit the X. That allows you also to save a filter. So if you have a filter that you run that you really like, just apply it, click save, give it a name that makes sense to you. The next time whenever you want to run it, you would go to the same table, so any of the incident lists in this case, hover over the thing at the top, select filters, and then you would see your filter listed there. That's why you have to give it a name that makes sense to you. Now another thing you can also do, if you wanted to drag this over to the edge, all you would do is make sure and grab the far right, so the last filter, click and drag it, take it over to your edge, and that's just a quick way of applying your filter in the future. Now there are ands and ors inside the filters whenever you do the drop down, and play with it to see what you want. Like you want it to be this, or I want it to be this and this. And this is showing you how to go to those saved filters and how to drag it to your Power Edge. So do you all want me to show you this functionality, or do you want me to quickly talk about home pages, because we are running short on time? Any preference? Okay, well let's do this. Because we'll see this in other places, let's go ahead and talk about home pages. So a home page is just that. It's a grouping of reports, lists, things like that. And your administrators have set some of them up, but the thing is you can actually adjust it to your own preferences. All you have to do is at the top of that home page, it says Add Content. You click Add Content, go and find what you want, whether it's a report that someone else has put out there globally, your administrator has. Find it, select where you want it to appear on your home page, and whenever you're finished, just click the X to make the pop-up go away. You can also move your content around by clicking and dragging. Now, once you adjust a home page, it will automatically change the name to my self-service homepage, my ITIL homepage, whatever. And that way you can easily go back to it, because where we saw that list of pages was hovering over that little house icon. Now once you're on a page, you'll also have another drop down that's called Switch to Page. That's just another way of getting to the same stuff. Now keep in mind that your list of available home pages is determined by your role inside ServiceNow. So let's see home pages really quickly. Now I hovered over the house and I see a list of available home pages. So I'm just going to select one. Now here's that pop-up I was talking about. Because I had made changes, it just tells me, do I really want to leave this page? And that helps prevent you leaving something that you meant to save. All right, so if I wanted to move anything around, I would just move it. It's as easy as that. Notice it automatically changed the name to My Self-Service. Now, there was a couple of second lag, but it was still saving it. And then to add things, I would just click Add Content. I promise it's normally not this slow. This is AT&T on me. Pick what I want. I mean, if I wanted, let's say, a clock. Oh, there's no preview. Let's go to just some gauges. And I click where I want it to appear. Once I'm finished, I just click the X. Notice it put what I asked for, my pending approvals, right up there at the top. If I don't want it at the top, I can just move it. It's as simple as that. And if I want to use the switch to page, I click that drop down there, which is the exact same thing as the house icon, just another way of getting to the same stuff. Are there any questions on this? Okay. So let's talk about reporting. That's something I love to do. There's a lot of reporting available inside ServiceNow. And this is just showing you some of the options, which the best thing to do with reporting is play with a few of the different reports and decide what you like. My favorite is a trend chart. So whenever you first start reporting, the best way to do it is to start from a list that you filtered or start from a pre-existing report. That does two things for you. It puts you in the right list or the right table so that you know that you're pulling from the right one. And if you've already applied the filters, then you don't have to adjust them. You already know what filters you've applied on there. So let's say it's from a list. You filter your list, you like it. You right-click in any of the column headers and choose bar chart or pie chart. It will create it automatically for you. And you can actually copy that into Excel or PowerPoint or anything else that you want to, or even an email directly from there. But if you want to make adjustments to it or save this as a report, there's a little plus sign at the top. Click that to expand reports and you'll see the report header. That's where you can change what kind of report it is, because from a list all you had was bar chart and pie chart. Well, we just saw there were a ton of other options. So you can change what type of report it is. It's just a drop down. You can change how it's grouped. There's a lot of different stuff. I know it's hard to see on this screen, but there are a lot of options that you can choose for that. You can even do a list report if you want. Once you get it the way you want it, you click Run and you see your report. You can save that. And where it will save is under My Reports on the Reports View Run screen. And just like with any list or anything else, if you have a report you love, you can drag it over to your edge. Now keep in mind that the buttons that you see along the top of your report will depend upon your role. Now one other thing that we can do inside ServiceNow is we can adjust our notification options. That's how often ServiceNow contacts me to tell me about things that are assigned to me, things that are assigned to my group, things like that. Now some of the notifications are required. Your administrators say, nope, that needs to stay on. And then some of them you can adjust on your own. It's just an on-off button. And where that's listed is under Self-Service, My Profile, and then you'll see a little related link that says Notification Preferences. It's just a blue link. And that's where you can actually, if you need to add in, let's say, a pager number, you can do that there as well. All right, so let's keep moving, guys. Let's talk about incident. Now, what is an incident? You all already deal with incidents. You know that it's an unplanned interruption. I can't do my work for some reason. Something broke. Okay? And, of course, the goal of incident is to restore normal business as quickly as possible. Get them back to work. Now, how does incident tie into other processes? We can actually create problems from incident. And we're going to talk this afternoon. We're going to move problem to this afternoon. Because the basics of problem are still the same. It's just the information about what is a problem and how does it differ from an incident. And then also you can initiate requests for change. Now that's an external process. It's not done inside ServiceNow. But you can initiate a request for change from, let's say we had 200 incidents for the same thing. obviously something needs to change. And then incidents are linked to relevant configuration item records. Do people understand what a configuration item is? Okay, configuration item is what is it? What broke? Was it JD Edwards or was it email? Was it Outlook? Something like that. It's just a way of categorizing what it was that broke. We've already seen what incident looks like in the application navigator, but all it is you have create new, then you have some lists. There's an overview, which is a home page for incident, and then there's a critical incident map. Those are just graphic views of incident. It's different ways of slicing and dicing the exact same information. So how do we create an incident? A couple different ways. Of course, IT users can do it themselves, but we have the GGP help portal, and then we have a call to the service desk. Whenever you first open the incident, you'll see, we've seen this before, the fields at the top. And you'll notice that requester is a required field and assignment group is a required field. Now, while other things on here are not yet required, it's really, really smart to put as much information as possible on an incident. That way it's easier for whoever the resolver group is to go back and help that person without having to go call them, get more information, call them, get more information. So I recommend including as much information as possible on the front end. We've already talked about who the requester is. That's whoever called the service desk. Who called it, who submitted it, that's who it is. And we've already talked about how to populate that field, but here it is just showing you again. Now, one thing that we didn't talk about was these little check marks that show up beside the requester's name once you populate the field. What those are is a list of incidents for that person. So if the person has several incidents, you can actually see everything that they've ever opened. Now hovering, once you click on it, it'll give you a pop-up showing you what they have, and you'll just need to click the X to close the pop-up. So this talks about a configuration item. So what broke? While it's not required, if you do know it, go ahead and populate it. Why not? And once you actually populate that, which is just a reference field again with that search glass, you'll get some additional things that show up beside it. You can see a CI map. What that is just a visual view of how that CI interacts with others. Now that is still being built, so right now it could change as time goes on. As it's being built, how things interact with each other. That little caution sign, that shows you other tasks that are affecting that CI. So if you click on that caution sign, it'll show you, oh, there are 10 other incidents against this CI. And that's, or there's a problem ticket open for this CI. And then of course we've already seen the information icon. Whenever you get into your incident, you would want to provide a summary. It's a short description of what it is that's going on. Then you would also want to add work notes. What did I do to help this user? What did we try? What was the outcome of that? As detailed as possible, because this is what your resolver group will look at to see what you actually did so that they don't do the exact same thing and drive people insane. Now, what I would recommend at this point is to right-click in your title bar and click Save, because that'll save where you are so far, save everything that you've done. Because now we're going to talk about knowledge. Because right here from inside the incident, you can search the knowledge base. To the right of the summary field is a book. Click that book, it will open up the knowledge base. It'll automatically do a search for you from what you have entered in the summary. Find what you're looking for. Click the blue link to go into it. If that knowledge article is exactly what you needed or what you used for this incident, click the button that says Attach to Incident. Say, this is what I tried. It will automatically attach itself to the incident. Now that's really, really important to note is that certain assignment groups require a knowledge article. If you are going to assign this to a CSC group, you have to have looked at knowledge and attached an article to it first. Now, I know we've talked about configuration item, but above that is a category and a subcategory. Those are drop downs, and you can choose like it was inquiry. I think by default it's inquiry help, but there are other things. If someone called about software or someone called about hardware, this is just a way to categorize what kind of call it was that comes in handy later whenever we're reporting, because we want to see what kind of calls we got. And notice, though, that whatever you select in the category determines what you can select in the subcategory. So if you select software, you see email, operating system, things like that. Hardware would give you different options. Now, it's also important to note that some things don't have a subcategory, like inquiry help might not have a subcategory. That's perfectly okay. That's why they are not required fields. And this goes to the priority. So you don't select priority on its own. As you can see, well, it's kind of hard to see on there, it's grayed out. There's nothing you can do with that priority, but what you can do is select the impact and the urgency. Impact, how many people are affected by this? Is this a major outage or is this one person? And then the urgency. How quickly do we need to get on this? Do we need to drop everything and fix this now, or can it wait until after we handle a couple more things? What you select from your impact and your urgency will automatically populate the priority. So let's take a quick look at this. Now we see incident along my application navigator. I'm just going to create a new one. Now, we've already talked about how to fill in the requester. Now, important note on behalf of. On behalf of is if we have an administrator who called in for her boss, you can say who that person is. The requester is who picked up the phone, who entered the email, that actual person. That's why the on behalf of is here. Here's where we can do the categorization if we want to. You'll see there are a lot of options we can choose from. And then if we have the subcategory, which see, this has changed since I pulled these screenshots because we're still developing the system. Now once it goes into production, changes won't happen anymore. They'll go on a change schedule. It won't be just like, oh, well that happened for no reason. That doesn't happen. But in here, this is the dev environment. Yep.
Drop downs, is it the same drop downs we can see after it goes to production? Or
Yes. Yeah, you will see these options. It's what is available in there that might change. Being this close to your launch date, this is probably exactly what you'll see.
So have we customized it at all to suit our business needs?
Yeah, I believe so. Lola, you all have customized this some with which options are available in category subcats.
Somewhat. It's mainly close to out of box. It's very close to out of box. The whole purpose of this project was not to go widely out of box and reprocess everything that's going to come. It's going to be continuous spaces going forward. We're really staying close to out of box. Very vanilla. There's some additional personalized choices in the category and subcategory lists that we did add in addition to, but what you're seeing and what we can train on is basically ServiceNow out of the box. We didn't make a lot of changes.
Okay, the point where CSC would be assigning it to different groups,
I'm sorry?
at the point when it comes to CSC and when they're going to be assigning the ticket to different groups,
Mm-hmm.
there do we see different categorization? Like for, we have app dev team, we have support team. Do you have categorization there? Lola, just as we have in Remedy now?
So you're asking if there's different.
You know how when it comes to CSC, they kind of push it to FAS support.
Assignment groups?
Yes.
So you're talking about assignment. She hasn't gotten to that.
Okay.
We
For
do
how
have
to change the
that.
assignment group, we will talk
I
about
think
that.
she's wanting to know, like, in our dev or QA instance, show her the QA or the assignment groups.
Mhm.
I guess that's what.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we'll look at the assignment groups while we're in here on the demo. So here's where that configuration item field is, and just like everything else, it is a reference. It will look at all the available configuration items. Important thing to note, reassignment count. That is tracked on every incident. And so anytime you have to assign it to a different group, it will tick that. It will increment that number. And that comes in handy later whenever your management says, well, you know what, every time it goes to this group, it ends up getting reassigned 4 times. So maybe it's going to the wrong group to begin with. And so that's important for management to know.
Is that an editable field that we can change as well?
Nope, it is read-only.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the screen, but it is actually grayed out.
My mind is not, so that's why.
Ah, so somebody has the keys to the kingdom. All right, here's where the summary would go. This is where you would, let's see, type whatever. It's a short description. It's a tweet of what is going on with this incident. Why did this person call? Down under this is where you have your watch list if you need to add anyone. This is where you add the work notes. Notice that I had collapsed my work notes earlier. It remembered that. If I want to expand it, I just click the expand. This is where you put details of what happened. Now it's important to note that this work notes list, once I save this, that field will be empty again because everything that I type will be saved in an activity history that's under it. Up here is the impact and the urgency. So I could select what I need for it, and it would determine what the priority is.
See, that's where worries me a little bit, because when we have our VPs, they should still have a high priority. I mean, they might come in asking for a password reset, which is, you know, but for a VP, we would want to take care of that ASAP. So that's why I was asking if that field is going to pull from their profile and set them to emergency.
No, but not right now, but your notification is that it turns in red and then you have an icon, so you'll be clearly indicated to you. So if you want to go ahead and plop in a VIP in there again.
Oh, sure.
Name or Dave's. Just
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. What's Dave's name? Sure.
do like Jim Thurston.
Okay.
James Thurston.
There we go. It changed it to VIP. So it takes it a second because what it's doing is it's looking up that user record, but it's still pretty quick. And then now this is something we didn't talk about before, is the contact type. By default, it's going to say phone unless they submitted a form, and then it'll come in a different way if they came in through the portal. The status, we'll talk about it again in a minute, but the status, whenever you're creating an incident, is new, and then once you assign it to somebody, an actual person, it will automatically change to active. Here's where we select the assignment group. This is what you wanted to see. And I'm just going to click this so it'll show me the list of assignment groups. Now keep in mind that some of this is demo data. So if you see something that makes no sense, this is dev. So let's just look at like this one. If I expand it, I'll see who is a member of that group. That's where you can come into play of saying, well, I know who it is, but I'm not sure of the right group. That's where you can do that and just select the assignment group. Now, best practice is you only assign it to a group, and then someone who's a member of that group actually assigns it to somebody. Now, there's nothing in the system requiring that. It's just our recommendation, and that way it doesn't accidentally get assigned to someone who's on vacation. So let me just save this. Because I want to stay in it, I'm just doing a right click in the title bar and selecting save. Oh, I forgot to fill something in. Aha! It's because I chose a CSC group. I have 2 things that are required. First, I have to select a configuration item. It's required for a CSC group. Come on. It's not liking my typing today. There we go. I selected a configuration item. Let's see if it'll let me save it. There we go. it let me save it. So, sorry, it had to reboot or re-render. So now, over here is where I can search knowledge. So I click it, and it will use what I typed in my summary to search the knowledge base. Now in this case, it found one item. I click to open that item so that I can read it and see what it is. And in this case, it's telling me, oh, there's scheduled downtime. And so I read that, and I'm like, okay, that's the right thing, so let me attach it to the incident. And it looks like nothing happened, but it's important because over here on the Related Records tab, it's showing me that knowledge number. And that'll come into play especially during reporting later, seeing where knowledge helped with our incidents, because the whole point of knowledge is to decrease the impact of incidents. We put more out there, we can handle people on the first call rather than having to assign it out somewhere. I'm sorry? Everyone. Everyone can do it. We'll talk about it whenever we're talking about closing an incident, because over here is just a little checkbox. And that would recommend this, and it would create a submission article, which is something that the knowledge management group would use to create a knowledge article. Yeah. So there's quite a bit out there already because the team has been working on adding and updating knowledge and populating it, but it's going to continue to grow. It's going to grow every day. Okay. Are there any questions on this part of it? Okay. I'm just going to save again. So let's talk about initial support. So we've already talked about searching the knowledge base to find a solution. Now, one other thing that I'll look at in a second is from that configuration item, looking at the other incidents with the same categorization, with the same CI. We can search for existing known errors and problems. If we're not able to resolve it on that first call or initially, that's when we assign it to someone and get it off of our plate. That's send it to a resolver group that can actually do the proper research, that knows more about it, because while I know some stuff, I don't know everything about their system. That's normal. Now, where will they see it? Well, everybody who's a member of that group will see it under their My Groups Work. It's under Service Desk, My Groups Work. And they'll actually get a notification about it as well. That's where these notifications, that's just an email from ServiceNow to your Outlook. Says, hey, we put an incident out there. That's it. Now, once it actually is assigned to somebody on the group, it won't show up in that list anymore. Instead, it will show up in their My Work, which is just above it. We've already talked about the state of the incident. Initially, it'll show new. Once it has someone assigned to it, it will show active. There are some other states available in there as you're working through an incident. There are some like awaiting, and those will pause your SLA. And then we also have proposed close. Proposed close is the same as resolved. Some customers don't like seeing the word resolved because, you know, they don't think it's fixed until they have a chance to look at it. So proposed closed is a great way of wording that. And that tells them, okay, we think we've done all we can and that it's fixed. You tell us, did it fix it? And then the system will automatically close your incidents after they've been in proposed closed for a defined period of time. I think it's 10 days. Okay, so let's take a quick look at how to do this. So first you have the requester here, and if we want to see a list of the incidents that he's opened, we click that, it gives us a list. Now this one's kind of wide, but the X is over there. I have this maximized for that screen. Then also, for this configuration item, if we click on this little caution sign, it will show me what other tasks are impacting this CI. What else is out there about this configuration item? And I'm looking and I say, well, wait a second, there are 5 problem tickets, which that's not normally going to happen. But if I click to expand, I can actually read what's going on with those problems. From here, I can actually click into those problems, and that's perfectly acceptable because I need to understand what's going on. And whenever I'm finished, just click this X. So down here at the bottom, and we'll talk about it more in just a minute, you'll see some tabs for affected CIs, your task SLAs, and child incidents. We're going to go into detail about child incidents in a couple of minutes. So are there any questions on this part of it? Okay. So we've already talked about people seeing it under my group's work and then under my work. This is just showing it there again. Now this is important, how to reassign an incident. If it's been assigned to your group and you're going, this is not really my group, it needs to go somewhere else. It's as easy as this. Make sure that the assigned to person and the assignment group, just blank them both out. And then you can search for a new assignment group. It's as simple as that. Just remember that reassignments are captured. There's a counter. It counts how many times the ticket was reassigned. Now, it's also important to know that if there's an SLA active on that incident, reassignment can impact that. If you waited until the SLA expired and it just sat in your queue and then you reassigned it, that other group's going to be angry. So I recommend if you do reassign, do it as quickly as possible. Just make sure that it's not something that belongs to you and send it on to the other group.
Now those fields are not going to be active for end users when they create their own tickets?
End users cannot even see them. I'll show you what end users can see on an incident, and it's a lot less than what we can see. Now, if you belong to multiple groups, we've already touched on how to add the assignment group field to your list. This just goes into detail of doing that.
Just one, if we could maybe show when you demo the next time, just what how an end user submits. I know that kind of carries over into service catalog, just in case there.
Yeah.
So because that's kind of new.
Yep. Sure, we'll do it. Okay. We've already demoed how to do this. This is just the slide about it, about clicking on that little caution sign. This talks about your work notes. Now that's one thing I wanted to show you here. If I go back to notes, notice that this field is empty now, but what I entered is down here, and it will have that same yellow background. You cannot see the yellow background on the screen. It does, because there's actually a yellow background on your work notes section as well that you can't see on that. But I promise it's there. We've already talked about attachments, and then I'll actually just show you how to do one. It's pretty simple. You click the paperclip, browse for what you want, click attach. You all have done this a billion times in other tools. It's just that easy. Now once you add attachments, they'll show up right under the title bar. You'll see it'll say manage attachments, and it'll have a number with how many attachments there are. In this case, it's showing 1, and the attachments are there. Now SLA. SLA is the set amount of time that we have to resolve it. And so as it progresses through, you'll see the stage of the SLA, where it is if it's in progress. Once it's completed, you'll see it either green or red. Red means breached. I took too long to do this, it breached SLA. Now, whenever it comes to reporting, you cannot report on this color. It can't do that because it still says the work completed. So there is a field called has breached. Whenever you're reporting, look for has breached. If it says true, true means yes, it breached SLA, it failed. Now, we're going to talk about child incidents. Sometimes something happens, an outage occurs, and so we claim one to be the parent or the master incident, and we want to attach all the others to it as the children. The way to do that, go into one of the incidents, the one that you want to be the parent. Click Edit. You'll get a slush bucket giving you a list of incidents. You can actually filter that to get to the stuff you want, and all you do is click the Add button to add them over to the child incidents list. That automatically associates them together. Whenever you're finished, just click Save.
Now, if we close the parent ticket, will it also close the child tickets as well?
Now, was that decision made on that?
Yeah, so what we built into the system and what we talked about yesterday is, I'll answer and I just want to make sure that I answered your question. But so when you set a parent incident that has, so it'll have children incidents attached to it, when you set the parent to a state of goes close, it does give you a warning message that displays on the screen. You hit OK and then it's going to set all of your child incidents to goes closed for you, so you don't have to individually go in and set those to close state. But notification on the user end would, I believe, just be sent to the parent incident. No, actually all the requesters. So you don't have to send notifications to each one of those.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it'll shoot emails when the events are fired, and the events are fired when this, like a status change from active to goes closed.
But it's not going to automatically send emails unless you kind of fire on an event to make it do that. So an event is basically like changing the status. That's
Yeah,
that's
they'll
what-
receive that
right.
automatic email, your ticket has been resolved.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you will get a warning message that setting your parent to close does automatically set your child incidents to close as well.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that so that it's on the audio as well. And what it is if we have a parent-child relationship, then whenever we set the parent incident to propose closed, you'll get a pop-up saying, do you want to set all of the child incidents? This will set the child incidents to propose closed. And you click that, and it will actually set those also to propose closed. It's just a shortcut way of closing them all out or resolving them all. So let's take a quick look at this. So down here at the bottom, this is where our child incidents are. If we want to add incidents to here, we would click Edit. And there goes my computer wanting to be slow again. There we go. It's still thinking, sorry. Here we go. So notice, by default, it's giving me everything. That's a lot of incidents. But at the top, I can apply filters. And this is how you can find the right incidents. So you could say it by configuration item or by created on today. Run your filter. Well, there's nothing today because this is demo data. And it will find everything. Yeah. Let's run that. And that way you can choose a subset. Now, if you're unsure, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see if I select one, it will give me a little bit of information at the bottom. So if you're unsure, just scroll down a little bit and you can select them. But the cool thing with this, though, is if you have a group of them, you can select the group and add them all at once. So it's a quick way of adding the relationships in there without taking a ton of time.
Or if you want, when they give you back too many, you can just take the ones that you don't.
Yep.
It's just a slush bucket.
Yeah.
So you can just take them all and all.
Yep. And you can double click or you could choose the remove button. Either way, they both work that way. Okay. Whenever you're finished, click Save. And you'll note that now it shows them all at the bottom. All right. So, as I had said, if we wanted to reassign this, we would just blank that out and choose a new assignment group. Simple as that. So, let's assign this to someone so that you'll see what it looks like whenever it automatically. Oh, there's only one person in this group. And let's save it. It will automatically change the status to active. Now the other statuses that we have awaiting problem, awaiting user info, awaiting parts or hardware, and then proposed closed. Now notice closed is grayed out because we don't close it. We propose it to close. The system handles it from there. All right. So let's talk about resolution and recovery. So before you resolve a ticket, First, you want to make sure that the categorization is still appropriate because this is going to end up being something we report on. So it's better to just go ahead before you close it and make sure it's right. Ensure that all the information about the incident is included. Document, document, document. Now, I can recommend that you don't copy and paste like an entire chat session because that's just excruciating to read, right? If you need to create a problem record, you can do that directly from here. So, okay, we've resolved the incident because we gave them a workaround. They rebooted their computer, it fixed it. But we know that we still need to investigate something. You can just right-click in the title bar, select Create Problem. Now, once you do create a problem, the problem is going to show the incident as a related record, and the incident will show the problem as a related record. And this is when you come to Propose Closed. You have two options for putting it in Propose Closed. You can either change the status to Propose Closed, or you can click Resolve Incident at the top. When you do that, closure information is required, and there's a tab for that. You'll see it go red, where it says Closure Information. On that field, or on that tab, there's a close code, which is a drop-down that you select, and then there are close notes. Yet again, be clear with your notes. What did we do? Here's why it's fixed. And that way, someone else coming in there, or if the service desk has to look at it again, they can easily understand what was done. Now here,
All that is entered is an incident, right?
Yes.
Then what is a problem?
Well, where a problem comes in is we want to analyze the root cause of what happened. Let's say every Tuesday a server's going down. Well, quick fix is use a different server. It's his fault.
No, sounds freakishly like something. Yeah.
Almost made it a full week.
So every Tuesday that server goes down. Well, the quick fix is, okay, we'll use that server instead, or reboot your computer and it works, or reboot the server. Well, okay, great, that fixed it, but there's still something wrong. So the whole point of problem is investigating what is underlying, what's causing this. And the reason we do problems, we do that analysis, is so we can avoid incidents in the future. If you determine that it's this, that it was, oh, well, it's that netgear that's going wrong that's causing all this stuff to go, you replace that netgear, suddenly you don't have that problem happening anymore, so you're avoiding incidents. And then that's why we also talk about relating incidents to a problem, because if you say, okay, well, I've related 100 incidents to this problem. If I fix this problem and it took care of that 100 incidents in that month, let's say how that scales out. Well, that's avoiding that many more incidents in the future.
So who's creating the problem?
I'm sorry?
Who's creating the problem? I know incidents.
Typically the resolver group. It's going to be an IT person, someone who really knows this stuff, because they're going to be the SMEs on this anyway. They're like, he's going to know his server. He's going to say, you know what, something's up. I'm seeing this incident way too often. Let's investigate what's going on. And there are no SLAs on problem because by definition it's to investigate. It's to find a root cause. And sometimes that can take some time.
So by the time the problem was, just to talk on a little bit more than that, by the time the problem was initiated based on taking that story to the servers down multiple times, the benefit is that the incident has been closed or should be closed at that time because the service brought back up, but the problem has been initiated so that you can further investigate that. And there's no SLAs on that. Like Lena was saying, you'll do a little bit more analysis and work on it. So incident is break fix. The server's broken, bring it back up, but then a problem would be kicked off that incident. So, but everybody that has access to ServiceNow in this room and yesterday's training has access to create a problem on the instance. So, but not all incidents have that. No.
Well, exactly, because you can have an incident for, I forgot my password, can you reset it? Well, there's no need to investigate that. The person just forgot. It's as simple as that. But that's why we have problem, though, is because something underlying is happening. We have a workaround. We have somewhere to get around it for now, but something else still needs to be investigated. That's why we have problem. All right.
Something new here at GGP we don't bring is utilize problem.
Mhm.
So it is ITIL tool.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about knowledge. We can actually create knowledge from this incident. All we do is tick the box for knowledge. And what that'll do is once this incident closes by the system, which we'll talk about how it closes in just a minute, it will create a submission article. Now that goes off, and that's part of the knowledge management process. But you said, you know, we're seeing the same thing. Submit it over there. Maybe we need a knowledge article on this. Okay, so let's talk about closure. So I've done all I can. I've added notes throughout, which this is a good opportunity for me to show you. Let me add some notes. I'm just going to save this. Come on, really. There we go. Notice that my notes moved down here. But this person, this employee, James Thurston, am I going to get in trouble for impersonating this guy?
We won't tell him.
Okay.
Question. What's the difference between save and update?
Excuse me. Save it, and keep me in here. Sorry about that. Save and keep me on this form. Update, save, and exit. That's it. The only reason I don't use update is because I don't want to have to go back into this form if we're still talking about the same one. In everyday life, you all will use update. Okay, so I'm looking for James Thurston. Come on. There we go. Now you saw how my updates, I could see them. James can't see those. Here's his incident. See on his self-service homepage? Right there it is. He can see his open incidents. He can click on it to open it. Notice what he cannot see. He cannot see any of those notes that I enter. They don't show up for his view. That's because our notes are going to be technical. They're going to be tested. This server did this, did that. He doesn't need to know that. He just needs to see the status. Now the cool thing though is he can actually add notes. From here he can say, what is the status on this? And notice all he has is update. He could save too, but he'll just use update. And then if I go back in here as me again, or as ITIL user, now one thing to note is I have the incident number. I know what incident number I was working on, or I know part of it. I can just type that in. Apparently it was not 597. I thought it was. Let's see. Oh, there it is. 10597. So I typed the last 5 of it, and it found it for me. So if I know part of the incident number, or if I know the entire incident number, you can do the global search. If you know the entire number, or if you copy paste it from an email, it'll go ahead and open the form. It won't give you this screen.
Now, when the end user goes and enters in work notes and saves it, is that going to throw it back out in the queue for us to see that there's an update available?
Well, it still belongs to you because it's assigned to you. But it came right here in the activity with additional comments saying they were added. And you can't see it on here, but it's actually in a different color. It's in gray behind it. So you can see that additional comments were entered. Now, one cool thing, whenever you start working on this stuff, this activity log can get huge. It can get ridiculous. So you can play with it. There's these little bars beside it. This allows you to see what you want to see. So if all I want to see are the additional comments, I would deselect all and tick the one for additional comments, and it'll show me just their additional comments. One thing to remember though, if you do this, be sure to click all again before you're done, because otherwise you'll come into the next instant and say, I'm not seeing anything down there. Well, it's because we just need to reselect all. The system remembers what you had been doing or where you were last.
Did you already show them like what James Thurston can see on all the incident?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Do you all want to see it again? Oh, okay. He can see very little. There's very little he can see, and notice that he couldn't see who it was assigned to. So that's why, especially if it's a VIP or something, you can pick up the phone and talk to them. And that way they have a person that they're talking to. So we've done all we can with this. We've come to a solution. We've given them something. We can either choose Propose Closed from here, or we could click Resolve Incident. I'm going to choose Propose Closed. Notice that the Closure Information tab is now required. This gives me where my close notes and my close code. Just a drop down, you select from a list. Now notice Close by Parent is an option here. Close by Parent is what will be selected automatically whenever those other incidents are closed. But I solved it with a workaround. Now, of course, I would put really detailed notes here because you want to be able to come back 6 months from now and know what really happened, or even if it happens again next week. Now, if I want knowledge to be created whenever this incident closes, I just tick the box. That's it. And I'm going to save. Here's where I get this pop-up. Setting this incident to proposed close will also close all related incidents. Do you want to continue? This is that pop-up that we were talking about that we would get. So click OK because, yeah, I want it to close those as well. And it's going to reload my form for me. Now, one question that came up yesterday that I want to talk about is, what if I have multiple people in the same incident? Well, the system knows that, and it will give you a pop-up saying someone else has made an update in this incident. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen, especially whenever you're talking about a parent incident. And it'll give you options to reload your form. If you've made no changes, just reload your form. Or if you want to see what changes they've made, things like that. You'll have options.
On the testing side, I haven't seen that, but you're saying that if there are two people in an incident,
Mhm.
if I got into the incident last, and I try to make an update off of something with flash.
Yep, you'll get a pop-up.
Yeah, we got that now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As well.
Okay.
It's really helpful to have that, and it's just because the system knows that there's more than one person touching that at the same time, and you don't want to lose your data. And if I get that, I just copy my stuff, reload my form, repaste my stuff. It's as simple as that.
Can you see the workflow, like, how it is assigned? From who was assigned to who?
On this, let's see. No, it's not showing on here where it was.
You know how one incident can work? Doesn't it show?
It is in the work notes to where you can see where it went. Like if you did the activity for, oops, sorry, I'm moving around.
Because it would have started off.
If you did the activity for assignment group, assigned to, well, this says I haven't reassigned it to a different group, so it doesn't have an activity for that. But if it had been in multiple groups, you can look at it that way and see where it went and who did it.
Did you, because if you scroll up a little bit to
Mhm.
on the top piece of the form, the reassignment count. So what is that's a ticker that's showing like how many times it's been reassigned by group, not by assigned to, but by group. So if it came into service application support, and then to development, it would show the groups different. So it is counting.
Mhm.
And then after it's been reassigned 4 times, there will be like a little, just a really small underassigned group, little button that says reassigned times. They wanted the reassignment counter on there just in case it was like 3 times reassigned.
Yeah. And the whole point of tracking reassignments is you don't want to bounce people around. The whole point of incident is to get them working again, not just reassigning. So now notice that this is now in proposed close status. And down here at the bottom, all of my incidents are also in proposed close status. So all the children went that way as well. So let's talk about what the client gets, what that requester sees. They'll get an email. They get a notification saying your instance has been resolved, and it will automatically close in 10 days. It asks them, are you satisfied with this? And click here. It will close that incident immediately.
And just to note, so I wasn't for sure if all the job incidents would get the same message when you close that ticket. The notifications are going to be in depth for testing, so
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. No. But it does confirm.
It does do.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. It sends the same. This one right here. The option to reopen the ticket or just send it out as well.
If you feel it's not resolved, click here. That lets them put notes in, reopen that incident. It gives a summary of what it was. And then if they just want to click to see their incident, now keep in mind, if these are just end users who don't have a role, it will give them that ESS view, just a shorter view of what it was. But they can click right there to see their incident.
So since we have that 10-day period before it's officially closed, is that the time frame we have now where we have the ability to go back in and open? I know like on my previous account it was after 3 days we could open it. If they had that same issue, we would create a new ticket. So now we have 10 days. If they call back and say, hey, I'm having the same issue, we can go back in and just reopen that ticket.
So if
As long as they didn't close it.
if they call back or if they don't, if they can also click this link here.
Right.
Okay.
If they had clicked here and closed it, it's closed. We would just have to open a new ticket. But if they've done nothing, it waits that 10 days. Anytime in there they call back, yeah, you can reopen it. Because you'll see it as an open ticket for them.
Or they may reopen right here, and you won't get a call. But this basically generates throughout the email back to ServiceNow. ServiceNow will pick up this on their scheduled job and just reopen the ticket.
So that would work as far as note-wise, because sometimes they call in a week later, oh, I had the same issue, and they don't remember what happened. So it would be nice to be able to go back in and reopen it and still have that activity log to refer back to.
So that's good. Now you have 10 days, as long as they didn't click to close it. But still, you still have it as a reference because data doesn't go away. Data stays in here. You can go back and you can find it. You can report on it. All right. If it goes into closed status, so either they click the button to close it or that 10 days lapsed, another email goes out to the requester saying, okay, we've closed your incident. Here's the summary of it. Will you take a survey? Now, it's important to note that that survey, it can change depending on the assignment group, So the assignment group is taken into account by the system as to which survey they take.
And it's just 3 different ones, so Xerox has a different set of questions. ServiceNow has a different set, and then the results have. So there's just 3. It's not like each different assignment group has its own. But right now we just have 3.
Yep. All right. So just quickly talking about reporting on incidents. There are 4 primary tables, but almost all your reporting will be on incident, on that table. There are a bunch of reports already built. And what I recommend whenever you're reporting, either start from a list that already exists or go to Reports View Run, pick one that's already built. That way you know you're on the right table and some of the stuff's already done for you. Just change it to meet your needs. Assignment group is this or this or this. And then you can save it. And once you save it, it shows up in Reports View Run. And this just shows you a quick way of reporting from a list and then modifying an existing report. Now once you get better with reports, feel free to just go in and create a new report. I've been reporting for 4 years now. I still either do it from a list or from an existing report. I find it much easier. Somebody's already done all the heavy lifting and has some of the information already there.